can't change it.
Tommy.
What's that supposed to mean? Good morning.
Morning after. How are we
Morning.
feeling?
Well, it's the morning. It's the morning before, right?
Morning
It's
after.
the morning prior. Like,
Draft season is right around the corner, and who better to have on the podcast than himself, Mr. Tom Troeth, in the building once again. It's been a couple months. We've had quite the adventure last month as yours truly got married, and Tom was there. He was able to join in. We are recording this Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. And I got a very special podcast coming out Thursday. Tomorrow, March 26th, the Rehearsal Dinner podcast drops. This is big news
Wow.
for me with
Wow.
Matt, Alex.
That's been dropped on me live. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
That's
that's dropping
gigantic.
tomorrow. And then we can either run, this weekend. So you guys will be seeing this. Getting ready for the draft. I know March Madness is going bonkers right now. So
That's right. We've got a few things to focus on, don't we?
oh yeah, we gotta get straight into it. I think we can go one of two ways. We'll let you pick though, Tommy, as the guest. Do you want to go through the favorite prospects? I have three things actually we could go, which we will touch on.
Okay. Okay,
We
I'm
have
all ears.
favorite prospects. We'll go. We could do a top 10 mock, or do we need to have the debate right now of whether Ty Simpson will have a better career than Fernando Mendoza?
Oh my goodness. Wow.
You pick.
I think it's debate time.
Okay.
I think it's debate time right off rip.
Okay.
Right off rip, because I've heard a lot of murmurs from different analysts and whatnot that Ty Simpson, he must have had a real rise here in the eyes of the prospects. I don't know if it was post-combine or chatting to scouts or what it was, but he seems to have risen a lot in the eyes of a lot of analysts, people on the outside. I'm not sure how it's looking on the inside, but that's been really interesting to watch because as we know, when it was national championship season and Heisman season, Mendoza, he was just flying high, in the rankings there. But we've seen a real resurgence from Ty Simpson, and it's interesting because of the limitation of QB prospects this year, it seems, are super high in the draft. So there's been a lot to focus on there, but also a lot of, other position players to focus on as well, which has been super interesting to have a look at.
It's definitely fascinating with Ty Simpson because I think all of us that were watching college football the first 9 weeks of the season, he was the best quarterback. Everybody could see.
Yeah.
Mendoza was kind of a system quarterback in terms of a lot of RPOs, a lot of just, checking down. He had some great receivers, as we'll see, Omar Cooper and Charlie Becker in the draft. And he had some great running backs as well as just a great coaching staff that was able to lift him up and take him to new heights. We saw the last half of the season, the second half, he really took off, had huge moments. Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa, all these games. But at the same time, Ty Simpson was dealing with one of the worst backfields in the country in terms of their running game in Alabama was treacherous, and he was running for his life. I know the O-line had some struggles, but Ty Simpson also, I mean, the way that he was able to take command of that offense, and he's one of those players that you can give him a lot of respect because he stayed at Alabama when he could have left. He stayed,
Yeah.
learned the system, and I know it's kind of scary with the only, 15 games career starts. That's scary because we've seen players really struggle when they don't get that Bo Nix experience with 30 plus games in college.
Man, exactly. The Bo Nix, the Brock Purdy, that's become a big focal point in the last few years in the NFL with young quarterbacks having that college experience. And now, with the extra years of the college career being incentivized with NIL deals and things like that, it seems to become more of a mainstay. So it is a rarity in Ty Simpson's case. And with Mendoza as well, he has such a unique story because he had a couple years at Cal where, he was flying under the radar a bit, and then it seems the stars kind of aligned for him. And as you mentioned, the coaching staff, the supporting cast, was all there for him this season at Indiana. So it's interesting. It's not like you can plug and play just any quarterback, to be under Signetti and have this magical season. But I've seen, people kind of play it out that way. It's like you could put another guy in there. It's like the whole argument about, the system quarterback thing, that we obviously heard about a million times with Tom Brady over his long career. But yeah, it's interesting. Ty Simpson is the complete other side of the coin for that. Lots of moving parts, new head coach, um, moving parts on the offensive line, as you mentioned, weaker supporting cast overall, which is atypical for Alabama. You wouldn't expect that, but it's been interesting to see. It'll be cool to see how all of this plays out, and also obviously the franchises they go to being playing such a huge role as well.
So we do have pretty much you can set in stone Mendoza to the Raiders at number one. It seems like Tom Brady's you'd assume that he, take him under his wing and he probably sees some similarities. A really smart kid. I mean, he's got the frame, 6'4", 230. Ty
Yeah,
Simpson is a little bit smaller, 6'1", 212. But at the same time with Ty Simpson, I mean, what he did, what he does pre-snap, and it just looks so fluid. The throwing motion is beautiful. He's able to go on the run a little bit. I know with Mendoza, it's the only thing you can really knock him on is sometimes the pocket mobility. He does take a lot of sacks, and the pressure rate does get to him quite a bit. We saw there when he faced some really tough defenses. Ohio State was able to get to him a lot. Um,
yeah.
but we have Mendoza going to the Raiders, and that's going to be a really, really tough test for him because, they really have to rebuild that O line because Genty was running for his life. I really do love him with Genty and Bowers. I think that'll be really fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, AFC West, though, is going to be just an absolute, he's going to be in the trenches from day one.
It's a gauntlet, isn't it? And I mean, to be put in that position with such a strong division now, which it has been for a few years, but the fact you have virtually three powerhouses there now. The Broncos are the top of the, you know, entire AFC. That's going to be interesting. We're going to see the Chiefs have a resurgence. I believe just obviously re-sign Kelsey and everything. The Chargers, kind of fell off the horse there a bit later in last season, but it'll be interesting as well. That's why I mentioned, the franchises they go to being such a big thing. So, Ty Simpson, you never know. He could come into more of a favorable situation where maybe he can sit for a year or something like that, and we see how beneficial that can be for guys like Jordan Love, etc. So it'll be cool to see how that plays out.
For Ty Simpson, I'll go first, and then you can give me some of your favorite fits for him. I
Okay,
think on the opposite end of the spectrum, I do not want to see him in a Cleveland Brown uniform or a New York Jet uniform. That's kind of
not at all,
purgatory. So we
not
don't
at
want
all,
that.
and
I
that
need
that
some
wouldn't give us a fair way to estimate, the start of his career.
exactly. And I think for him, the best case scenario would be being able to at least sit for, hopefully over half the season. If he gets in week 9, week 10, that's okay. But I do think
Yeah.
a fascinating scenario with the Arizona Cardinals. They have
Mm,
the number 3 pick. I don't think they will take him that high, but I do think, whether they get David Bailey or Francis Maui Noah, the offensive tackle out of Miami, I think the Cardinals need you need to put the flag up on them because they could very well move up into the, end of the first round or early second round. They could try to snag him. But I do think the Cardinals getting the right offensive tackle, um, having that kind of the hole that is there filled, and then having Ty Simpson, you can start Jacoby Brissett for the first half of the season, and if you need to bring Ty Simpson in, and I just think he would look incredible in the red and white. Just keep it
yeah.
consistent with
No,
Alabama. I also think
definitely.
the
I mean,
Vikings as well could be another team to watch.
that will be huge as well. I mean, with the Cardinals as well, we could also see them potentially, trade down, get a haul of draft picks because there's a lot of, high pedigree defensive prospects as well that teams are going to be after, most notably from Ohio State, um, which we'll get into, of course. But man, it's going to be super interesting. There's a few, potential suitors up there as well. What do you think about the New Orleans Saints?
I think they have their guy, Shuck. I really do.
You do?
I think they're buying into him because he showed
It,
flashes last season where
it
he
it
could beat
seems
them.
that way. it looks like they have, invested in him. So that's very interesting. Mm. Yeah, man, it's a very intriguing one, isn't it? The Vikings would be super interesting. I don't know what's going on up there in Minnesota, but it, man, it seems like it's like win now mode, and then it's slight rebuild mode. But they have so many pieces to win right now, as we saw with you know Kirk Cousins last season there, and then Sam Darnold coming in, having back to back such successful seasons. Um, that'll be interesting to see what they want to do at the quarterback position as well, having just signed Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I very much think that's a Band-Aid signing. I think it's just
Yeah,
stopping the bleeding. I don't think it's a long-term contract. I mean, it might be a long-term deal, but I just don't think that it's a long-term solution for the Vikings organization. Let's get
mm,
straight into the draft. Um, for those that don't know, it's not a quarterback draft. If you want that, follow us next season for the 2027 draft because that
that's right.
class is absolutely loaded. Can't wait to dive more deeper into that. But this class, I mean, the wide receivers and the edges, the tight ends even. This is a very deep tight end class. You could see some diamonds in the rough, third round, fourth round. But I think we
Definitely.
have to get into it. We can just give our RomTom mock draft top 10. We got Mendoza going number one. And then I pretty much think Arvell Reese from Ohio State will go number two. He's been talked about a lot. I think it's fascinating. We can get into it now. What he and Sonny Styles did at the combine was unbelievable. The competitiveness in that, defensive line front seven group of Ohio State is
It's
out of control.
it's ridiculous, and especially Sonny Styles. I was reading that he did used to play safety actually, which obviously showed that he ran a 4.46. I mean, that speed is ridiculous, and I know NFL scouts are going to be looking at that, having a linebacker that can fly around like that, and we see how that versatility plays out in the NFL. Like, you've seen what Micah Parsons has been able to do lining up at virtually any position, in the front seven and beyond. So I think he can do something similar. But as far as number two, I would Reese is a obviously a viable suitor, especially going to the Jets. They're going to want to solidify those key spots on the offensive and defensive line. I think David Bailey out of Texas Tech is one that I wouldn't sleep on as well. Um, with the successful season he had, tied for most sacks in the FBS. I think the Jets obviously need a pass rush as well. That just goes without saying. They didn't have a player over 8 sacks last season, so they do have a lot of holes to fill though. So you don't know which direction they're going to go, and also if teams are going to go, best prospect on the board or best fit for their team as well.
I really think Arvell Reese is kind of just the steady mainstay. He was getting the numbers, putting them up on the board, and I just think Sonny Styles is, that bombshell blonde that you see at the end of the bar, and you just can't get your eyes off her, and you got to just go for it. So one of these teams is going to go for it, whether he goes in the
Intriguing.
it
Yeah.
could happen. I mean, right now, Todd McShay has him going seventh to the Washington Commanders. So I think I could even see him go in the top five. I do have a prospect we'll get to that could sneak into the top five that we don't see very often.
A
We'll get to
sneaky
that.
one.
A sneaky
Okay.
one. So what we got right now, we got Mendoza, and then I think it's edge. Whether it's Ruben Bain, David Bailey, Arvell Reese. Take your pick at number two. Number three.
Yeah.
Cardinals, as we mentioned, I think Francis Maui-Noah would be perfect for them. A career right tackle. They need to fill that gap. What do you think about that? Should they go somewhere else, or they gotta sure up the line?
Yeah, well, I think that could be a great pick. And also, if you, I mean, man, it could all come together for the Cardinals if you pair that with snagging Ty Simpson, having him sit behind Jacoby Brissett, as you mentioned, with the experience he has. Jacoby Brissett, playing the majority of the season ideally, but then having young offensive line pieces as well to protect the young quarterback. That would be absolutely huge, and I think a great fit.
Now, this is where it starts to get interesting because I've heard some rumblings of the love is out there. Jeremiah Love.
Oh my
Now,
goodness, most definitely.
we've seen reports that the Titans could be interested at four. The Giants
Okay.
would be interested at 5, which pairing him with Scadaboo would make that Giants coaching staff just fall in love because you got I know Jeremiah Love has dealt with, a knee issue, when they were in the title game and all that, but he's the best player in the draft. One of
Oh,
the best
dude.
running
I
backs we've
mean,
seen.
yeah, he's a generational prospect. I think the only thing, obviously, that would you know uh, deter teams would be take your running back that high. It's like because we see such production out of running backs that you even might look at in the second, third, fourth rounds. So that'll be the only thing, but he's a very hard prospect to turn down. I've seen him compared to Reggie Bush. I mean, you see there's some comparisons out there, that's for sure. But I would not be surprised if we see him to go that high. But it would be really fun to see him on the Giants, I will say, as you said, in that backfield. And then having Malik Neighbors coming back, obviously you got Jackson Dart at quarterback. So having all those young pieces, coming together on that same kind of trajectory, that could be scary. We could see, Washington Commanders esque season, as we saw a couple seasons ago with that crazy run they went on. You see how the Bears performed last season with all their young pieces. It could be that same kind of movement.
Who do you like at the Titans at 4? You like Ruben Bain maybe? Or maybe Arvell Reese?
Yeah, I do. Even Carnell Tate,
Carnell Tate as high as 4, okay. Make the case.
maybe we'll see. We'll see. Just with the caliber of prospect he is. Um, Ruben Bain as well, very intriguing. It's interesting with a team like the Titans with a lot of holes to fill as well. It's interesting to see what way they will go, and the quarterback situation. We don't know how that'll play out, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Ruben Bain, I would say, very um, exciting prospect, especially to replace Cam Jordan and all the production he brought as he phases out. um that'd be huge.
I think this draft is one that it starts pretty much at, I would say, 1 and 2 are kind of solidified. 3 is really interesting, just in the case of a trade down for the Cardinals, as you mentioned,
Yeah,
stack up
yeah,
picks, and then it really starts at number 4, I think, because the Titans, you can go many ways. You can give another weapon, like we mentioned, for Cam Ward, or you can go, defensive edge. There's so many good defensive edges, as we'll get to, and off-ball linebackers.
there are.
Jeremiah Love at number 5 would be crazy to the Giants, but also at the same time, you can always sure up, the secondary. Caleb Downs is one of the best safeties in years, but you might not want to take him that high. You could trade down. Uh,
Yeah,
Number 6, the Browns. Who do you like here? You think they should sure up the offensive line a little bit? Maybe a receiver, Makai Lemon, maybe get a edge rusher.
that's interesting. I'm thinking receiver to have dynamic weapons. I think that's what the Browns need. I think ever since they moved off Baker Mayfield and company, they haven't been as dynamic on offense. We know that they've been, still running the traditional, run game kind of scheme, the ground and pound. But I would love to see one of the receivers go there. It could be Lemon, that's for sure, out of USC. Um, it'll be interesting. I don't know if he'll climb that high though.
No, yes.
So I think one of the surefire defensive prospects, um, you know, or offensive line. I think a lineman could definitely be in play. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Could be Ruben Bain if it doesn't play out higher as well. Um, Man, it'll be interesting to see which route the Browns go.
Oh yeah. I think that, you can't go wrong with any really of the high end prospects, Arvell Reese, Ruben Bain, Jeremiah Love, Carnell Tate, Sonny Styles, David Bailey. You really can't go wrong. It's fascinating to see where Caleb Downs will go because I think he's one of the better safety prospects we've seen in a while.
Mm.
Number 7, Washington Commanders. Where do you think they should go with this?
Man, that is an interesting one because it could be, you know, one of many ways, as we mentioned. Uh, One thing I will say though, they could go Mansour Delane out of LSU corner. I think that could be very interesting because the defensive backfield, at Washington was a bit troublesome. Last season, we saw issues. Marshall Lattimore had issues. Obviously not the same since the New Orleans days. So I think that could be a real need for them as well. And I think Delane could climb that high. Also, they could go offensive line. Also, I don't know if we'll see Caden Proctor climb that high. Is he in the mix yet? I don't know, but I know Jaden Daniels got thrown around a lot last season. So
Yeah, I mean, we're probably going to see something similar of the Commanders drop from 2024 to 2025 as probably with the Patriots. That schedule's looking real tough. And, maybe they exceeded expectations a little bit last season, and we could see a little bit of a drop in New England. Number 8 in New Orleans Saints. What do we like?
that's a very interesting one. I think you could go Jordan Tyson, one we haven't mentioned yet.
Top 10.
Arizona State could be. I'm thinking a receiving threat to pair with Olave. That would be absolutely.
They could always trade back as well because, like we mentioned, this wide receiver class, there's going to be some dimes in the rough. Diamonds in the rough in the second round, third round. You got some really good guys. Tyson, I think, would be a mid first round prospect. Somewhere I saw him go. I really loved the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh my goodness! If the Rams manage to snag him, which is a possibility for sure at 13, but that would be insane seeing him, in with McVay, with Stafford, obviously. The Rams, man, it's impressive how they, rebuilt a lot of that defense and got the young pieces paired with the vets. That would be absolutely insane to get another dynamic receiving threat in Los Angeles as well. I actually love that just as a fan. I would love to see it.
This is probably the most intrigued I've been, but I'm intrigued to see your thoughts on what the Kansas City Chiefs should do at number 9.
Oh my man. Do we really have an answer for that? I mean, that's a crazy one. I think offensive line. I think offensive line definitely. Shoring things up there. Especially having Mahomes coming back from injury as well. That's going to be a huge emphasis, protecting him as the season goes on. I'm hoping, their receivers continue to develop as well. Hope we see Worthy finally, come out, have a real breakout season. But I think to ensure that can happen, I think offensive line. So we could look Spencer Fano out of Utah. That could be a really, really interesting one to shore up the offensive line. Very solid pass blocker to protect Mahomes back there as well. And as we know, the Chiefs just signed Kenneth Walker as well, so things could get interesting up there down here in Kansas City.
I think taking Spencer Fanu would be probably the right decision. But my break with the Chiefs, I just want them to kind of get crazy, and I think they can make some phone calls. And if they are able to move up and get Jeremiah Love, I think they should pull the trigger.
Oh my goodness, that would be insane. That would be
Kenneth
insane
Walker,
to see.
Mahomes might need the help.
That's a great point. And to see Kansas City with a bona fide running game would be nuts. Because I mean, since Jamal Charles had his illustrious career in Kansas City, Mahomes has always dealt with a lackluster running game. And he's been forced to sling the rock. Obviously, his breakout season throwing for 5,000 yards, 50 plus touchdowns is great, but that's not a reality every season to be churning that out. So to have a solid running game and kind of move into that next phase of his career could be huge as well. I'd love to see that.
With all these players rounding out the top 10, I think if Caleb Downs, one of the best safety in this class, if he falls to the Bengals at 10, I think that's a massive win for the Cincinnati franchise. As we move past the top 10, we can just touch on some prospects we like. Maybe some teams we're intrigued by, Jordan Tyson to 13 at the Rams, like we mentioned. I also think the Dolphins losing Jalen Waddle to the Broncos for that 30 overall pick and a couple other picks. We could see Mekhi Lemon go there. Cowboys
Yeah,
would be another team that could trade up for Jeremiah Love. You could see Jerry Jones in the
yeah,
bathroom. Hey, move up and get the kid from Notre Dame, and then they're going to do it.
yeah. I could see that. I could see that. I do think Dallas has been prone to be a bit passive in recent years as well. So I don't know if they'll be able to take the plunge for that. But selfishly, I hope Kansas City go out and do that and grab Love for sure.
As a high school athlete that played in Minnesota, and as a Vikings fan, true to the heart,
Ed
at
Hart.
18, who do you like there? I see in a mock draft Dylan Thieneman, who really showed out at the combine, the safety from the Oregon Ducks. You liking that at 18, or are you looking somewhere else as a Viking?
I I do because I think to have some youth on the defense would be huge as well, and the way Brian Flores would be able to use him as well. Um, that would be absolutely amazing to see. We could look at Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon, as well. That could be massive. 4.39 40-yard dash to have a dynamic weapon at tight end there, you know, would be huge on top of, the things that TJ Hawkinson brings, as well. I would love to see that also. More, a dynamic weapon, whether on offense or defense, I would love to see that. And man, we'll have to see how that offense pivots as well if Kyler Murray is to start.
Yeah, Vikings. I think the 49ers are also a team to watch with Kenyon Sadiq later in the first round. That would be an
Yeah,
explosive backup as George Kittle, recovers from the injury.
yeah,
I think with this class, it's fascinating to see what will happen with just all of the wide receivers. Casey Concepcion, a lot of these players. I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's a edge class and a wide receiver class, and teams that, like the Browns, the Jets, I feel like they're just punting and, waiting for that 2027 class. We can kind of, get into that a little bit right now. In 2027, looking ahead just in a year, we have Dante Moore, Arch Manning, Julian Sayin out of Ohio State. We have all these players, Lenore Sellers, and there's probably even, a Fernando Mendoza out there that we don't even know about. Of those
yeah.
players, who do you like there at the top? You think Dante Moore? I mean, he could have been, a top three pick this season. Do you like him, or do you think Arch will make a run and he could be the face of the New York Jets, or are you maybe a little bit lower on him?
That's a good question. Right now, I would I would take Dante Moore because also he's going to have more time starting by the time you know they're both finished with their collegiate careers. But as you said, I think Arch Manning, if he is to have a more consistently great season next season, that would be huge, and he could definitely, climb up there even to number one. But right now, I think with the inconsistencies, in his season starting for the Longhorns and how he picked it up at the end, but it was a little tumultuous at the beginning as well. I think right now I'd take Dante Moore. Um, but it's going to be interesting as well, looking at guys like Brendan Sorsby as well.
Hmm.
You know, uh, we'll see how he plays out there at Texas Tech also. But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Right now, I'll take Dante Moore though, number one.
Some prospects we like, we can kind of just, rattle them off. D'Angelo Pons, I think would be fascinating on the Green Bay Packers. Jacob Rodriguez, he just is so underrated and he just doesn't get talked about enough. He balled out at the Senior Bowl, is just a leader, a winner, should have been a Heisman finalist. They should have just made it top five just for him. Jeremy Bernard, love him out of Bama. Zachariah Branch, Jadarian Price, Notre Dame, the backup.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I mean, we got some great safeties out of Arizona, Traden Stukes, Dalton Johnson. Is there any
yeah.
potential teams, guys, you're looking at that could be a seventh rounder or undrafted? Any punters on your radar? Any kickers?
Man, not just yet. Not just
Okay.
yet. I will say. I've been looking at the top guys though. I mean, I'm thinking about Jeremiah Smith.
Oh yeah, for next
Most
season.
notably.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, yeah, next year. Next year. That's
he's
what
got
I'm
to be number
thinking.
one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's insane. Ryan Williams as well. So I'm looking a little ahead, but that is super exciting. Uh, you know,
Ryan Coleman Williams now. He changed his name and his number. So he's adding the hyphen. I'm hoping that kind of switches, the dilemma up because he was struggling. He was struggling
Yeah,
this season. I mean, coming out, being one of the best freshmen, him and Jeremiah Smith were right there and had kind of a bit of a fall off. It'll be interesting to see who even is the starting quarterback in Alabama because they have a bit of a quarterback battle this spring, which I'm fascinated to see. Another prospect that I think will be fascinating to see where he ends up, Cole Payton, the Southpaw quarterback out of North Dakota State. Right now,
wow,
he's in the top 65 prospects on Todd McShay's board. He's number 65.
wow,
He was used 3 years as a backup to kind of a Tim Tebow, putting in, inverted vert packages, things like that. And he kind of balled out for North Dakota State. He's, still pretty raw with the mechanics, but I think if he ends up in a system where they have, a Josh Allen or somebody he can kind of just sit back and watch
yeah.
and build some packages around him, I think it could be super fascinating.
Yeah, no, definitely. We see that a lot with the more raw prospects, like, the Josh Allens of the world, as you mentioned, a bit raw, not as sound mechanically, but, once you get to the NFL and you have that talent around you and that coaching around you, anything can happen.
I like Dominic Orange out of Iowa State, big defensive lineman. They call him Big Citrus.
Oh, big citrus.
And
Man, give it
Caleb
to me.
Banks, Florida, 327 pounds. Guess what his vertical leap was at the combine?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know.
32 inches at 327 pounds. Watch out.
Wow, that's insane. He beat Tommy on the vertical leap. So that's that is absolutely what I'm gonna have to get to work on that one now.
Caleb Banks, I mean, we can kind of close it out. What are you thinking about Garrett Nussmeier and Carson Beck? What are their futures going to look like?
Man, I'll start on Carson Beck. I'm not sure how it's gonna play out. Honestly, I think the way he regressed kind of after he transferred and everything, and was exposed to a degree after the stint at Georgia, I would say. Um, so man, we'll see. Not as high on Beck, that's for sure. But you can go with Nesmeyer if you want.
Yeah, I think last season was just the season from hell for LSU and for Clemson, two programs that we thought could win the national title. Just had a rough going. I think he was dealing with an injury pretty much all season, really affected his deep ball. But give him some time. He's a smart kid. He's one of the best quarterbacks in terms of pre-snap reads and being the commander of the team. But really excited to see. Can't wait for that 2027 class and all those quarterbacks. Thanks for joining, Tom.
Yeah, J Rom, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Always use on the podcast. I'm extra excited for the rehearsal dinner podcast